Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Libra for June 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, or click on the link below this video to see more about my personal live coaching, also to see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program that is intended to help you bring your shine. The program is called Shine. It's available on a sliding scale. It is intended to help you be your brightest expression you possibly can be. So check it out, and while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter where you can become part of my community. We've got so much sweetness going on this month, it's crazy. It even surprised me when I was going deeper into the aspects just how much sweetness that this month can carry with these potentials. So let's talk about the different aspects. We've got, at the beginning of the month, we've got two sections of several days to look out for, some things to be aware of. So let's start out with those because they're not as fun, and then we'll spend the rest of the time on all of the amazing aspects that there are, and there are a lot. Okay, so right at the beginning of the month, we have a full moon on June 2nd. I tend to get my full moon freak out about 2 to 3 days before the full moon, so you might want to be on guard the end of May, the 31st or whatever, then into the 1st and 2nd, or even the 30th of May. You might feel them early too. But there's this fullness. Something comes to fullness. Something comes to completion. Something comes to fruition. We walk around, especially people with Libra tendencies. You're an air sign. You are very good at being objective and observing and seeing what's going on. And not to say, of course, that you're not an emotional creature. All humans are sentient beings, and we all have feelings and emotions. They just come through differently. And energies that are not by nature extra emotional tend to sublimate the emotions. And so these full moons can really cleanse your field. So if you imagine all month, you're kind of taking stuff in, taking stuff in, taking stuff in. And then the full moon happens and it's like, wah, all the emotions, all the tears, all whatever comes out, they get discharged from your field, and then things start building up again, you know? So this full moon is interesting in the way that there is a square to Neptune. So it's already going to be emotional. Sometimes it can be confusing. People can feel a little lost around the full moon and feel a little hopeless and, think that whatever's going on is kind of get lost in whatever that is. But this element of Neptune being here at not a great angle can bring confusion, chaos, deception, escapism, addiction, things like that can flare up at this time. All planets, all signs, all placements have a range of potential expression. So there's no one sign or placement that's good or bad. There is potentials within each that are on the full spectrum of good versus not best, right? Okay, so Neptune has a lot of wonderful things associated with it. But since it's coming at an angle that is not favorable, it's a 90-degree angle, it's a challenging angle, then the side of it that tends to not be as fun tends to come out at that angle. If it were a nice angle, then the more positive ones would tend to come out. So those things that I listed, confusion, chaos, kind of feeling lost, those energies are some of the energies that are not as positive about Neptune. So you might feel especially lost or detached or disconnected or sad or confused around this full moon. But no, the energies will pass. Also, for some of you, you may have information come to you that had been withheld because Neptune rules the 12th house, and that's the house of secrets. So there might be something being kept from you. That's why I always talk about focusing on sharpening your intuition, because if your intuition is strong, then people can't really lie to you because you know something's up, and maybe you don't know exactly what it is, but you get that little, one of my close friends calls it a glee. It's like a little thing that tells you that's not good, that's bad, or whatever. It's like your indicator that something is not as it should be. And around this full moon, there's a very good chance that someone will be withholding something. You don't have all the information. Mercury is still in retrograde anyway, so we know we don't have the full picture just from that energy, but this is on top of that. So once those energies pass, and they will pass, then we start this series of sweet aspects on June 5th. But before that, maybe we'll go in order that way. I was thinking I was going to go into the more challenging aspects. Let's just talk about those first. Okay, so we have Mercury still retrograde this month until June 11th. But we know as Mercury is changing gears to turn around, it's awkward. And whenever anything is awkward, it's more of whatever the negative could be, right? So again, it's like you're coming to do a U-turn, and you're going maybe 60 miles an hour, and you're like, oh, I missed my whatever, and you have to slow down and stop and turn around and then get going again. That discomfort, nobody likes to do that, I don't think. I don't think anyone loves to say, hey, let me slow down my flow and get awkward and screech my tires and then turn around the other way, right? It's uncomfortable. So that's what Mercury going direct is like. So the several days before it goes direct, so around June 8th, and then the several days after, so around June 14th, so from June 8th to June 14th, we have this awkwardness with Mercury flaring up things more than it normally would, even in retrograde. So even as it's direct on June 11th, you might say, oh, I'm going to do this on this day, the 12th or 13th, because it's direct now. I wouldn't do it, you know, unless there's a very clear sign that you have to do something, because there are some other sweet aspects that could be coming into play. Those days are just awkward. So if you're waiting to sign something, if you're waiting to make a decision on something, try to wait till after the 14th. You'll see why. The energy will be more clear. Okay, so now besides that, interference with communication, devices, transportation, information, we have these sweet energies that start around June 5th. Whenever I give you dates, they're not always contained to those dates. We can't contain these energies in nice, neat little boxes of this date. So whenever I use a date, you have to stretch in your mind before and after that the potentials are there, that these things can manifest on dates different than they officially happen. So June 5th, we have a beautiful angle between Mars and Jupiter. Let me say first, let's talk about where Mars is in your chart right now. For Libra, most of you, or about half of you, will have Mars influencing your 9th house. And the Sun is there, and Mercury is there. All of you except some of the middle and then the late degree Libra placements, you'll have this triad of Mars, Mercury, and the Sun in your 8th house. But it's close enough to the line of the 9th house that the things I talk about with possible 9th house manifestations could also be present for you. So we've got Mars sitting there in a lineup with Mercury and the Sun, and the Sun moves faster than Mars, and it's behind it. So this month, it's getting closer, closer, closer. And then at some point, it's going to be sitting right on top of it. There's going to be a conjunction with the Sun and Mars, and that will actually happen on June 14th, which in some ways is a power day, because that only happens once every 2-ish years, and it's a good day for productivity, which also jives with the energy clearing some for Mercury. So you might find that you're just like, I'm going to get all this stuff done right now, because I've been waiting to do it, you know, and in some ways that will be good, because the Mars and Sun conjunction will be great. But until they have the conjunction, they're going to be aspecting Jupiter and Uranus in succession. So Mars is going to come and have this beautiful aspect to Jupiter. So for those of you that have this Mars in your 9th house and it's aspecting Jupiter in your 11th house, the 9th house rules teaching, learning, communication, or like not communication as far as like what standard, like publishing or think like writing books or getting information out. It's the house of religion and the house of studying philosophical topics, and also international affairs, anything involving people from different countries or cultures, different languages, you know, universities, teaching on any level, formal accredited teaching and not formal accredited teaching, is all in this 9th house. So some of you are going to have a lot of energy here, you know, because you've got the Sun there, you've got Mercury, which is part in retrograde, part not. We have Mars there. And for those of you late degree Libras, you're going to have this coming because it's there for the earlier placements, and for you, it's going to get there. So there's this big focus on religious questions. There's this big focus on, you know, what things that you believe in. And actually that full moon, which is going to happen at the bottom of your chart, that can bring some things involving your car and your devices too. That's extra energy around that. So if you don't have insurance on your devices or good insurance on your car, just look into that beforehand. Something else I wanted to tell you. Okay, so back to the 9th house stuff. So when we have this Mars and Jupiter, it's called a sextile, it's a 60-degree angle. Jupiter is going to be in the 11th house, which rules the internet, which rules groups and organizations and teams and working in teams, and also humanitarian efforts or working in big companies, something group-like. So something internet is related with something from different countries. If your work is online, this could be very much speaking to your work. Some of you Libra placements have Jupiter still in your 10th house. So this could be very directly improving your work. All of you have several aspects this month where something involving your work, your money, love can be beautifully brought into fruition or expanded in wonderful ways. And one of these hot spots is right at the beginning of the month, Mars making this fabulous angle. Some of you middle to later degree Libra placements are going to have that triad in the 8th house, and the 8th house is about people with resources. And with this beautiful angle, someone could be coming from the woodwork to help you, or someone who you've been trying to have help you, funding, support in some other way to fuel your dream of what you're doing. The 11th house is also the house of your big dreams, not the ones you have at night, but like your big dreams. So support is coming from somewhere to fuel those dreams at the beginning of the month. So June 5th and June 8th, Mars makes that aspect to Jupiter, which expands whatever it is that you're working on here. And then the sun comes and makes that same angle to Jupiter. In between there, on June 5th and 6th, we have Venus, which for all of you, you're having this grace your 10th house. Wherever Venus is, it brings love and cooperation and money to wherever it goes. And this is in your house of work, your career, work, life, purpose, things involving father figures or authority figures. Sometimes mom could be in there if mom was a very strong male presence in your life. So Venus is in this work, career, life, purpose house. And then Saturn is going to be in a beautiful angle to this. Now, we often talk about Saturn as being difficult and heavy and, everyone being like, Saturn. But, Saturn has a beautiful side to it too. And when it has this Venus aspect flirting with it, it's very much like, I kind of call Saturn a crotchety old codger. He's rich, he's grumpy, he's, annoyed, but there's also wisdom there. And when there's a sweet angle happening like it is, he's more likely to share the things that he has going for him, which are wisdom, money, and support. So that could bring awesome money news for you. Then on the 9th, we have Mars and the Sun now getting closer together, and they're both making this beautiful 60-degree angle to Uranus, which is the planet of surprises. So we've had in previous months Uranus make obnoxious angles and bring not good surprises. Again, you see when we have these challenging angles, the negative aspects of those placements have more of a tendency to be prominent. But when there's a beautiful angle, like there are here, several beautiful angles, the chance of Uranus's awesome side coming out is increased. It's all a numbers game in astrology, That's what we look at. We look at, there's a really good chance this is going to happen. And that's how it can be predictive. Because if you're running at like a 90% chance something's going to happen, there's a pretty good chance it's going to happen. Of course, there's always a 10% chance it's not going to happen. I talk about this all the time too. What if you're watching the astrology reports and wonderful things are supposed to be happening and they're not? That is because the transits bow down to your inner programming. Imagine spirit, the potentials of the universe, of the planets, coming in through your crown chakra and mixing with your wiring in your brain, which is your natal birth chart is like looking at your brain wiring. It also shows your musculoskeletal wiring. This is your imprint, and it mixes with that. And in a case where they're not in agreement, like if the universe is saying, yeah, let's bring this awesome thing, and your program is saying, no, you suck, you can't have anything good happen to you, then guess what's going to win? Your imprint's going to win, unfortunately. But that's for better or worse. So that's why inner work is so important, because if you get yourself so sure inside that I'm awesome, I'm good things can happen to me, I can do this, then when those good potentials come in, there's an agreement and then there's a manifestation. Not to say that people who are positive don't ever have bad things happen to them. It's obviously not true. Life is life, and it's going to be filled with the things that life is filled with, including death, things that aren't good, challenging things. But you'll be happier when you have less of those things, and you'll have less of those things when you work on the inside, so that when the good potentials come in, you don't have anything disagreeing in your being. It says, yeah, you're right. I can have money come in right now. Let's do this thing. So it's really important to know that. That's why You can't look to astrological transits to see what's going to happen without taking an active role in your destiny, because the reports are limited by what you have going on inside. So important. You have to tend to your inner garden. Okay, so with all that being said, there is amazing potential that is just wants to come through in awesomeness for you. And most of you are going to have some really good things happen. Here's another example of that. So June 9th, Mars and the Sun, Mars rules how you use your energy and forward movement, and the Sun rules your creativity and vibrance and what you want. And it's coming in this beautiful angle to Uranus, which brings surprises, but in this case, possibly happy surprises. And Uranus is like a lightning bolt. It comes out of nowhere. Even if you know something's coming with Uranus, if you're intuitive and you sense something's coming, when it comes, it's like, oh, surprise. It feels like a surprise somehow. And that's what Uranus does. It's like a lightning bolt. It comes out of nowhere. So can bring these great surprises. So then again, we talked about June 11th with Mercury going direct and things being a little weird. So you've got Mercury's shadow period going till the end of the month. The 27th of June is when Mercury's shadow period is completely clear. But as I've been talking about in the previous horoscopes, even once it's completely clear, as of June 22nd, which is before it became completely clear, we have Venus retrograde shadow starting in anticipation of this Venus retrograde at the end of July. So it's like there's not any time between May and the end of October where we're fully just in new, fresh, forward-moving energy. If there is new, fresh, forward-moving energy, which there very well may be this month, it's going to be linked to something from the past, someone from the past, something that you did in the past. Some past link is going to be very present here, even with new things that come in. So on June 14th, we have that power day, the Sun and Mars making a conjunction, giving you extra vibrance and movement. And on that same day, we have Saturn going retrograde. So Saturn has been in Sagittarius since the end of 2014, and now it's going to duck back into Scorpio. So any unresolved relationship karma is going to be brought up here for these several months. I believe that we have karma. I believe you can call it whatever you want to. It's that thing that seems to be always around, that you're not getting it. It keeps happening. There's a pattern. It's karma. And I believe that karma is manifests in the form of a really strong belief about something. Sometimes you're aware of the belief, you're conscious of it. Sometimes you're not, and that gets more tricky. You have to detect, like be a sleuth, and to find those things out through what's going on outside of you. But in the cases where there are very obvious opinions you have about something, you might notice if you have a very strong opinion about something, like let's say you don't like kids. Some people are not kid people. Some people are annoyed by them. Some people want to go and be free to do their things and not have kids running around making a racket and doing the things that kids do. So if you have this strong opinion about kids doing annoying things, you're going to be a magnet for kids being annoying because you have such a strong energetic, this is all energetic. You become, when you have this tightness, it attracts exactly those things. So the more you soften your strong beliefs, this is still on this discussion about karma and relationships and karma and Saturn going back into Scorpio, the more you soften your strong beliefs, the more you'll notice that those things are going on in the world and you're not as affected by them. They're not in your personal space as much, or when they are, you're not reacting the same. And that right there is freedom. That is freedom. Freedom is the loosening of the tightness of constriction of limited beliefs. And you'll have every opportunity to work on these as Saturn moves back into Scorpio. Something else that should be mentioned is all of the wonderful aspects that are happening this month are happening in air and fire. So this is especially conducive to Libra placements because you're an air placement. So this energizes you even more. That's cool. Okay, so on June 16th, we have this new moon in Gemini. And this is going to happen again where all this energy of Mars and Sun and Mercury, the new moon is also going to be in Gemini. So it's going to happen in your 9th house-ish. You know, for all of you, it's going to be somewhere over there. And this 9th house is the house of faith. And that's actually like religious faith, and that's just general faith. So you might feel, maybe because something wonderful happened from one of the transits, that you have this new, renewed faith. in the unseen, in things, in God, in the divine. Something new. Could be also a new learning track, something new involving, your teaching or learning or different countries or different cultures. Something new can come in there. But it's likely to be something new linked to the past. As we talked about, everything new at these times is going to have some kind of link from the past. Some will be more obvious, some will be less, but it will be there. So on June 21st, it's another power day. We have the sun's movement into Cancer, marking the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year. The day of most light of the year, you can really shed that light on the darkness. So this is a great time for inner work that I always talk about. And then on the 22nd, we have this awesome transit, Jupiter and Uranus in a trine. So you see we've had these planets making these beautiful, we had Mars and the Sun, and later Venus. Well, Venus has made some other nice aspects, but making these beautiful aspects to Jupiter and then making these beautiful aspects to Uranus. And now Jupiter and Uranus come and make this beautiful aspect to each other because they're all just kind of working in this beautiful sacred geometry in the sky. Jupiter and Uranus have been in a loose or tight trine pretty much since Jupiter went into Leo in the last summer. But now it's full on. So surprises, benevolence, excitement, expansion, growth. Again, that has this surprise element to it, something that seems like it comes from the blue, is showing up for you. So some of you are going to have that happen in your work sector, your career, work, and life purpose. Some of you are going to have that happen in your sector of the internet and groups and teams and philanthropic efforts, humanitarian efforts. And some of you will have Uranus in the 7th house, which is a relationship. Someone that you know expands all of these things, or all of the things you're doing get funneled into this relationship, and it can seem to come from the blue. Some of you will experience some of the Uranus energies closer to the 6th house, which could affect your daily routine. And for some of you, that can also affect health. It could be good health news. So then in the last days of the month, we have Venus, now in Leo, making a beautiful aspect to Uranus. Again, all of this just surprises. Uranus in beautiful aspect means happy surprises. Venus rules love, beauty, and money. Venus is in your house of career, work, and life purpose. So lots of strong energy for romantic relationships, things involving your projects that are big, things involving your work and career. So I hope they all are awesome for you. If you would like some assistance in bringing this down into practical measures for your chart, I would love to help you. You can go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, or click on the link below this video to see more about my personal live coaching or to sign up for working together. And you can also see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program, which I highly recommend. It's one of the tools that I have created to help you work on that inner space, knowing that the transits bow down to that inner space. So doing this work for so many years and seeing thousands of charts, I put together this program based on the common things that I see all people all over the world dealing with. Only half of my viewers are in my country, which means that I have daily interaction with people from different countries, all different walks of life, and I've come to see the similarities between us all, the human things. And I put those into the program to help you shift out of the limited thinking and the things that are causing problems for you and stopping you from being in your highest expression. So check it out. It's on a sliding scale. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So I hope you have a wonderful June, and I'll see you next month. Bye.